And I know you've been heavily involved in the sports world throughout your career, obviously. But like, what would you say got you interested in MMA, and how did that lead to the PFL, just to get into things?
Yeah, sure. The opportunity to build a brand, build a league in the fastest growing sport in the world, do it from the ground up with distinction and with an incredible ownership group and top management team. Uh, really the opportunity to be a leader in the next evolution and the growth of the sport and to propel it forward was incredibly appealing. As a as an entrepreneur.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Were you with the World Series of Fighting? I'm not sure about this. So yeah, just were you with them when they made the transition? Is that like kind of where it started, or did you jump on when PFL was a thing?
Yeah, I was not with World Series of
Okay,
Fighting.
okay,
I joined the PFL 2 years ago. I left Under Armour to take on this venture.
okay, okay. How did that process kind of work out?
I had relationships, in sports and with various members of the ownership group, and one discussion led to another, and
Hmm.
quickly came together and realized it was an amazing opportunity.
Yeah,
And the business thesis of the value of live sports content today, in particular premium content,
hmm,
and what we launched and what we're building is not a Me Too product.
yeah,
It's differentiated to the other guys. In fact, it's complementary. It appeals to the avid MMA fan base
hmm,
who are looking for uh, expanded live product to engage on and quality fights that's accessible. So we have the opportunity to engage that large and growing fan base around the world, those avid MMA fans.
yeah,
And we also have the opportunity, as well as appeal to non-avid fans, those stick and ball fans who are now coming over to the fight game. And our platform at the PFL, with our format, with a regular season, a playoff, and a championship,
hmm,
in beginning, middle, and end, fighters earn their way. It's all based on merit. And in the postseason, fans are assured the best. They're competing against the best, fighting against the best, and it culminates with the year-end championship, where each fighter earns $1 million, and their and the belt.
hmm,
All the storylines are there for those non-avid fans to jump in. It's easy to follow. They relate to a season format, and it really is built to create stars.
hmm,
And you look at someone like Kayla Harrison, two-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. Kayla went pro with us. She's undefeated in MMA, and she's now a star, not only for the PFL, but in the sport, and recognized as such. And she'll be competing for the title New Year's Eve.
hmm. Yep, that is right. Look forward to that one. And the format is so unique. Obviously, literally the only one of its kind in the sport. So I'm just curious, like how'd you come up with it? Really, I mean, it's so unique. I never would have thought of something like that.
Two products. So 2 years ago when we launched, and prior to that, our vision was to reimagine, and it still is, and grow the sport and do it with distinction.
Hmm.
And so our format, frankly, addresses a lot of issues that exist within the professional fighter community. So we've listened to fighters, we talked to them, we talked to fans, we talked to distribution, talked a lot about the promotion format and the pros and cons of that. And so for us, we dialed a product that addresses fighter issues, addresses needs of fans and interests of fans, as well as the distribution marketplace. And we're from sports. My entire management team have different experience from different sports, including the combat sports space, And so for us to scale the league and the business around the world, we felt and are committed to doing that with a differentiated product.
Mm-hmm.
Lead with innovation.
Yeah, yeah. What was the biggest hurdle you would say in like getting this style of tournament format set up?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, last year the biggest hurdle was simply validating the format, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we accomplished in 2018, and that was our focus. And the endemic MMA community, like many fans and or different business, a lot of pessimists. Um, this type of format won't work it doesn't work, will not work in the fight game. We heard that. But we were really committed to launching this. We have a vision and committed to this product and the differentiation, and we launched it. And to some people's surprise, but not to ours,
Mm-hmm.
the sentiment was extremely positive right upon launch, just after 2 events last year, that the PFL was great for the sport, great for fighters, and great for fans.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we had something once we got through the first 2 events.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that this is always going to be the base and foundation of the PFL, right? This isn't like a specific window of a time kind of thing. This is the idea, right? It isn't like just for show and then it's going to change at some point. The idea is to stick with this format.
Yeah, this is a cornerstone of who we are. This is not a sort of one and done and type of short-term initiative.
Mm-hmm.
We're committed to the format, but I will say fans in the marketplace can expect additional special events and promotions that the PFL will stage here in the U.S. as well as outside the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. That was one of the questions I was thinking of. So perfect.
Yeah.
And do you think that this tournament style kind of forces the UFC and others to maybe step their games up a bit in terms of fighter pay, event quality, and most importantly, just overall innovation?
Hey, that's what a challenger brand does. We'll grow the sport. We'll make the sport better, and we'll push our competitors for sure.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of posturing in business in general, right? So what would you say makes the PFL the most different overall? Aside from obviously the format and everything.
I'd say 3 things. Number 1, our format. 2, innovation with respect to technology, and 3, storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we talked about the sport, the format, and what it provides the athletes as it's a meritocracy, and they earn their way.
Yeah.
It's not about trash talk. It's about competing, and we're attracting the best athletes from around the world. We'll continue to elevate our roster year over year. I'm excited to make some announcements in the coming months about new signings of athletes. But number 1 is the format.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, it's innovation. And we're the first to innovate the cage. The PFL, our cage, is trademarked the Smart Cage. We're the only organization measuring strike speed and tracking fighter location during live fights and integrating the data, the analytics into the actual live broadcast. And it provides context of the competition. It provides an immersive experience, and also provides additional data to activate the IP in the gaming as well as betting space, new prop bets and things of that nature. So innovation is something we are. It's part of who we are, and it's how we'll grow the sport and grow the PFL.
Mm-hmm.
So number 2 is innovation, and Smart Cage is a great example of that. And 3 is storytelling. I mean, I really started my career at the NFL at NFL Films,
Oh, nice.
and working with Emmy Award-winning producers and creating stories about those athletes, NFL athletes, teams, and the league. And PFL is no different. In order for us to grow the sport and not have the sport appeal to not only avid MMA fans and to open that up to broader sports fans, you got to tell the story of the athlete, the emotional journey, the storytelling about an athlete's who they are, where they come from, why they got into the sport, how they got into the sport, what they fight for, and then that physical journey, all the training, the preparation, and everything that goes into preparing for, everything that goes into trying to get into a league such as ours at this level, everything that goes into telling stories around the preparation for the regular season and getting through the regular season. And then for those who are fortunate enough to get into the playoffs, and then they have to get through fighting twice in one night and win to get into a championship, and they fight for $1 million. So we tell those stories. We tell the story of the athlete. It comes through in our broadcast. It comes through in our shoulder programming on ESPN and across digital and social channels. We have a whole division, PFL Original Productions, that's dedicated to telling the story of our athletes.
Yeah, I mean, storytelling is one of my favorite parts of just, any kind of entertainment
It's
value.
life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. It's a very
It's life.
big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to create an emotional connection with fans. And you can't be just transactional and stage a fight and operate as a puppeteer. You got to make people care and give them access and opportunity.
Definitely. To go briefly off track here, I gotta ask if you're a Giants or a Jets fan.
I'm a long-suffering Jets fan.
I'm sorry.
And that's okay. I'm loyal, but it's built character.
Yeah, hey, I know how you feel, man. I'm a Jags
Who's your
fan.
team? Who's your team?
I actually have two, so I like the Packers and the Jaguars. So I know what you're talking about with the Jags. So I have trouble there.
Yeah, a really great ownership group. I knew Weaver back in the day, and then I love the Packers, having gone to many games in Green Bay.
Nice.
And my era was with Brett Favre, so when I was coming up through the ranks of the NFL, Brett was coming up, in the league, and it was an exciting time, and how he put his mark, frankly, on the sport, the position, and that team was great. And I went to the Ice Bowl. I went to the anniversary of the Ice Bowl.
Oh, nice.
So it was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Brett got me. He made me become a fan of the Packers. Everyone's like, "Why don't you like the Seahawks?" I'm like, "Well, I actually saw the Packers and Seahawks like back when I was a little kid, and I was just like, oh man, Brett, this guy's awesome." So credit
He's
to
like
him.
Huck Finn in an NFL uniform, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But anyways, back on track.
Yep.
A
All
bit.
good, man. Sports.
Yeah, I know, right? A big talking point, though, over the recent years in MMA to help, get fighters more of what they deserve financially has been the idea of a union. So I'm just curious, as working with the NFL and all that, what are your thoughts on unionization in MMA?
Yeah, it's conversation, and it's something that may happen in the foreseeable future. I don't see it happening near term.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky subject. It seems like so. Yeah. And as for other promotions, primarily Bellator and RIZIN, they've really started getting into cross promoting. Sending their fighters over back and forth, kind of trading a little bit, but not exactly like a typical trade. But which it seems to be a big hit and kind of touches back on that continued evolution of innovation in the sport. Is that something you'd be interested in? Maybe getting involved in cross promoting, having other fighters go back and forth between promotions.
We're focused on what we're building at the PFL. However, I put our fighters up pound for pound with any other promotion, and absolutely, at some point in time, we expect to be doing cross-promotional events, and things of that nature. In terms of sharing and swapping athletes, it's something we have not done as of yet, but we would never rule anything out. But we are committed to signing exclusive contracts with the best fighters from around the world.
Yeah, yeah. And we touched on a little bit earlier about expanding kind of worldwide events. So just curious, like, are there any plans to have any events outside of the U.S. right now, or is that just kind of just talking?
Yes, yeah. The answer to that is yes. And in 2020, that will happen, and we'll be sharing more information on that in the coming weeks. Frankly.
Right on, right on. Look forward to that.
Yep.
Uh, and a lot has kind of been made about Ali Abdelaziz's influence on the roster by having, at the very least, 30% of the fighters on the roster being under his management. I'm just curious, what is your take on that criticism?
Regarding Ali, uh, Ali supply. I mean, if you look at the stats, how many fighters that he actually has at his under his company dominance with UFC and Bellator and elsewhere, it's a significant number across the sport. Ali is one of the leading and top managers in the sport overall. We have a number of fighters with Ali, but what I can tell you is, and we value our relationship. And what I will tell you is, you will see us continue to work with dominance, but we're also going to expand the number of management companies that we are dealing with today, and that's a function of how we're in the next phase of growth and in a position because of what we've accomplished and the interest now among the top stakeholders in the sport, managers and fighters, who are now see what makes the PFL so special, and now it is deemed as a absolute alternative and option for any top ranked athlete to either launch their career or continue their career when they're on their way to the peak or at the top. So, and as a result of what we've achieved in the last two seasons, we're now in all the top conversations with athletes vying to get in. And so we'll be dealing with an expanded group of managers that we haven't done business with before.
Yeah, of course, just, as the PFL continues to grow, that's expected, right? You would hope for that. So, makes sense.
Exactly. So tick the box, and, as we're kind of measuring where we are in our growth plan, we're on pace.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Pete, we got to talk about the big upcoming season finale, man. Was there anything you're most looking forward to specifically on this upcoming season finale, or just excited for the whole thing? I'm sure.
6 world title fights in one night. Where do you really start?
Yeah, right.
And in any other promotion, this would be 6 pay-per-view events. But for us, we want to end the year big with the biggest night in MMA. 6 title fights one night. The ball will not drop until 6 belts are raised, and those fighters had to earn their way through the entire season and to get there. And really, we're going to see some great fights. I have no doubt there's going to be a surprise or two. And but most importantly, it's going to be fun to close out the year and recognize the achievements of these athletes, who will also be awarded with $1 million. But we have some great fighters like Ray Cooper, who's been with us for 2 years in that welterweight division. Ryan, who brings so much passion and power to all of his fights and performances, and going up against an American Indian in Mashad, who has American Indian roots and identifies with them. I think that's going to be a really compelling matchup. We're obviously excited to see Kayla in her first season in this format in the first women's 155. See how Kayla fares in this championship bout against Larissa, a formidable competitor. And Kayla's undefeated, and Larissa has something to prove, and we'll see where it goes. It's going to be a great night. And obviously Lance Palmer,
Mm-hmm.
Lance the Party, America's All-American. And I think Lance continues to grow his game as a professional athlete in this sport, and he's starting to expand versus where he was in the past. He had his first knockout, and he's becoming a really exciting fighter to watch. So we're excited about his fight and every single fight. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but just to mention a few.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Now, I will say we also have Brandon Loughlin.
Oh, yes,
Right?
yes.
And so Brendan, out of the UK, he's got a healthy chip on his shoulder, a great attitude. We're excited to showcase a special fight before the world title fights begin. He's going to be in the league next year.
Okay.
Guaranteed. He's got a contract with us, and but I really want to see how he performs.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a good one too. Very interesting story with him. Speaking of
Yeah.
stories, so yeah.